I went back and watched that video that I just made for between ages 0 to 6. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot of things like from that timeline. Like I feel something happened at that time that I can't remember. Um, that's important. Um, Maybe a couple things. I don't know. I have no idea. Uh, like I said, I've just been so jammed up and overwhelmed from so much fucked up shit. You know. Um, and it's hard. It's extremely difficult to. Here's my Mr. Farrell. Mr. Farrell. He just got used. I mean, he's trying to get down. He just got used to me picking him up recently. He still doesn't like it though. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to my son, my 24-year-old, a few months ago, and I said, Brandon, I said, I've healed physically enough. I said, I can probably take, a couple pills, maybe something for anxiety and something for whatever, and probably jump right back into this fucking mess. And I told him, I said, but Brandon, there's just something bigger going on, like, like it feels like it wants you to heal, so that way, or think you're healed, or stop your healing process, be comfortable with where you're at in your healing process, and just stop altogether. Another example of this would be like when I quit drinking, I started eating sugar, and when I would tell like friends or a couple different family members that, they'd be like, don't be so hard on yourself. And that, as soon as they said that, when each one of them said, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Don't be hard on myself. I said, I traded one addiction for another. And everybody just looked at me like, what are you going to do? Like, and that just blew my mind. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So you're telling me that, so it's not good to drink, but it's okay to consume large amounts of sugar, and then that. So things just started becoming clear, as far as everybody's cognitive dissonance, and I guess getting sober, and being sober-minded and clear-headed, and facing things and realizing things, and then like I said, guys, those lockdowns fucked me up. I didn't even know they were coming. I'm so far out of touch. I don't pay attention, man. I don't give a fuck what these politicians, what these governments are doing. But my son had said something to me, and then my buddy had asked me about, did you get? Because we do construction work, and he said, did you get your mask? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I had no idea this shit was coming. When it came, I thought it was a joke. I was like, this can't be real. I was like, people gotta be kidding. I couldn't believe people were so scared. And two things, I couldn't believe people were so scared of it, something that wasn't even visible, that they were just being told. And then second, that people were obeying and listening and obeying and closing their businesses and putting everybody out of work. And I mean, they crushed people. They killed millions of people with the lockdowns. I was like, I couldn't believe it. In the first couple months, I was just mind blown. I was just like, and the fact that everybody who wasn't dying because they lost their jobs or their livelihoods and everything else, or just the stress, or they were already in bad mental states. Just the fact that people were still blaming it on a certain president, or still blaming it on politics, or still blaming. And that's when it just became clear how lost everybody really was. Like, everybody was so lost in their distractions and in their things. And then that's when I started tying it back to, it all comes back to like, we desire, and that's where I'm at now, is that I'm realizing that literally they are everything they are playing on your need and desire for comfort and safety outside of yourself, when it's all in here. And that's all they're doing is playing it. Everything's a sales pitch. Everything's a sales pitch, you know. Um, but yeah, that cognitive I mean, that really set in, man. That really fucking affected me, guys. And I didn't realize it until now. And I almost got in. The amount of fights I almost got in was unreal, with all kinds of people in grocery. The only place I went was grocery stores. The grocery store. That was it. And I almost got in so many fights at the grocery store with so many people that were just hating me because I refused to wear a mask. I mean, hated, detested. I was hated. I was literally hated for 2 years everywhere I went, because I also, I was doing construction, so I was also in Home Depot and Lowe's. Um, but yeah. So, and for anybody to sit here and think that that's normal and that somebody wouldn't have a problem, that's where the problem is. And then that's when it becomes like, so that's why it's important to get this out, because man, that shit, no wonder I hit my head the last time and fucking that was it. My shit went berserk, man. So yeah, I told my son, a few months ago, I was good enough where I could take some pills and I could jump back in the game like everybody else seems to be doing, and just continue to produce, continue to be an energy generating fuck. But I refused. I told him, I've refused. I told him, I said, I don't care how much it fucking hurts. I don't give a fuck. Because I'll be dead. I'd rather die than not heal. I'd rather die than throw in the towel and be comfortable and just, if somebody said, hey, look, man, just shut the fuck up. We'll give you a house. We'll give you a car. We'll give you an allowance. Just shut the fuck up. Just quit talking. I'd be like, take one up the dick, bitch. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with this, is what I'm saying. Like, there's no stopping it, which is nice. Because anything that comes up, like I said, anything that comes up is coming out. There's no filter. There are a few tiny little details, that I'm consciously holding back, and that's just because, for those things I still haven't, the fear programming that I've ran off my whole life. I just want to be careful how I approach those things. But yeah, man, the fact that, everybody was telling me, oh, don't be so hard on yourself, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay that you're trading addiction for addiction for addiction. And I just made me think, I'm like, so basically, it's okay to be an alcoholic if society thinks alcoholism is okay. And so all these things are okay as long as the group think is okay. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, anything's fine as long as the group thinks it's okay. And that's what I'm saying. That's why there's so many problems. That's why it's so important to like sit inside yourself, because that's all that matters. And the only rule, only treat others how you want to be treated. You know what I mean? But if you have a society of people who are used to being victimized, who are used to being beaten into submission, who are used to being told what to do, and then you tell them, well, only treat other people how you want to be treated, that's dangerous, because it's like, fuck, I don't want those people treating me how they want to be treated, because I don't want to be treated like that, and that goes down the whole road of people thinking that they need governments and institutions and education systems and masters and gurus and life coaches, and man, that's where it all starts, guys. That's what I'm just saying. That's why I'm only sitting right here. I'm sitting at the base yelling up, telling you guys that everything else is a distraction, and you can think you fix it, and you can find your guru, and you can find your motivational bullshit and go this way, and your religious horse shit and go that way, and you can find your atheism and go that way, and you can find the look, it is what it is. You have to accept it for what it is. You have to be honest about it. It's scary. It's at first it's scary. Um, but man, it's such a relief when you just realize that everybody's just as lost as you, and that the reason for all the confusion is because everybody's trying to control everybody else, and people are desire the wealths of this world, and they sell out. So what else? And it all comes back to my belief. I know that I was a beautiful, pure soul born into this extremely toxic, extremely trauma-filled environment. I mean, born right into it. And before I was even born, even when I was comfy and nice and safe in my mom's womb, God knows the amount of trauma just being from an outside, because you hear all the voice, you feel all the energy. So God knows what was being prepared, and then be yanked out of that fucking safe spot, and then being all those energies directly. There was no more wall. There was yeah, and then that's when you're yanked out. All this abuse happens immediately to you, and then the first few years of your life, all the poisons pumped into your veins, the programming from your parents on how to eat, sleep, and play. I mean, guys, it's overwhelming. It's unbelievable. And if you can even get past that, if you can even get to school age, to 5 years old, before you start realizing how bad, and you can't realize how bad, that shows you how bad your programming is. And then you get to 5 years old, and then you can't understand that the prison system and the public education system is they go hand in hand. It's the exact same concept. They run on it, exactly the same thing. I mean, if you can't see this stuff, and if you can't see it and you just shrug your shoulders and go, well, that's the way the world is, what are you going to do? I'm not going to overwhelm myself with it. No, it's not overwhelming. It is accepting it for what it is, and it's recognizing it. It's starting to change your thoughts and behaviors accordingly. That's what it's about. It's not fear-mongering. It's not anything other than deprogramming the cognitive dissonance that your abusers have had on you your whole life, that you continue to adore and worship and feed your energy, time, and money into. And it's just sick, us as adults, and that's another problem with the religious aspect of it, guys, is they teach you have to respect your elders and spare the rod, spoil the child. And that's fine. That's all, I understand that concept in a perfect world. Like, as a guide, you're guiding somebody. But we're literally, as Christians, we were telling each other to beat our children, young, beautiful, pure souls, beat them. Well, first you got to teach them how to sleep as a baby. So you have to let them cry for hours and hours on end all by themselves. Trauma-based teaching at its finest. But yeah, then so us as adults, we're so fucked up from our trauma-filled and shit that we never faced. And then what do? We beat our kids into perfect little replicas of us, and then we send them off to state-sponsored indoctrination centers at extremely young ages, and we completely 100% support what they are indoctrinated with 8 hours a day. And then we don't spend any time with them when we get home and they got to deal with all our baggage. I mean, it's a mess, guys. It's a fucking mess. It is a mess. It can be solved, but it can only be solved by going inside and taking care of yourself. You are not going to solve it by thinking you're going to take care of the education system. You're not going to solve it by thinking you're going to take care of your neighbor. You're not going to solve it by thinking you're going to take care of your kids and they need to obey. You're not going to solve it by taking care of your wife. You're not going to solve it by doing any of these things out your government, not by voting for a different fuckface. You're not going to solve any of these problems by doing any of these things outside yourself. I am sort of walking the path to show you, not everybody needs all this type of healing. And yes, this is a lot of weird shit that I got to go through. I'm sure not everybody needs to do everything I'm doing, but I am showing you that it is all internal, and that's where it all comes from. It's just we are having a natural response to an unnatural environment. That's all that's happening. The chaos that you see is manufactured. It's completely 100% manufactured. If none of this shit existed, okay? If none of this shit existed, and you were a beautiful, pure soul born into this natural environment, the way it runs, none of this shit would be happening. None of this. It's all manufactured, guys. It's all made up. It's all man-made. And it's just made to keep you going, well, I can't get out of it because if I stop working, then who's going to make the fucking this that does that? And the knee bone's connected to the... So it's up to you. You make your excuses until you're ready to heal. We all do. I had to get rid of my addictions. And, just get clear-headed and realize that all I was doing was trading addiction for addiction. And get that honest with myself. And yeah, it hurts. I mean, you hate yourself, but you understand, like, there's more going on to it. Like, there's a war going on, but it's a proxy war. And you're the perp because you got caught, but there's actually a handler behind you. You know what I mean? If any of this makes sense. I'm trying to get it out of my fucking face. That's all. What else? Oh, and I'm finally able to write, guys. I mean, seriously, I'm finally able to take notes. Which is amazing. I've been wanting to do this for months and months and months. So everything's coming as it comes with my healing, and my healing has come as it can. Like yesterday, I'm writing notes until I got so nauseous I couldn't do it anymore. So dizzy I couldn't do it anymore. Then I go and breathe. I relax. I calm down. I do, and then I see what I can do. And that's how I'm going about this. I'm pushing it, but I'm trying. I've got to be easy with myself because I will very quickly and easily overwhelm myself. And I just keep questioning why, guys. And I'm surrounded by characters, like both my grandfathers, my grandfather on my mom's side and my grandfather on my dad's side were high-ranking, very high-ranking military, and they retired out of the Pentagon. I mean, we're right outside of D.C. I think both families were right there in the Springfield, Burke area, Alexandria, Arlington, all that, that's right outside of D.C., 5-10 minutes. And then just the weird, I mean, it's very weird. I have a feeling there's going to be some huge revelations coming when it comes to like putting together missing links and weird behaviors of my family, and I take 100% responsibility for what I did. I lied. I wrecked a brand new Saab, almost killed my cousin and his best friend and myself. I threw my cousin in the closet. I lied. And I did other stuff while I was there. I was only there for like a few months, 5-6 months. I did some others. I kept like I went down to the movie store right there and I rented a bunch of movies and kept them longer. I was stealing liquor from the liquor cabinet. I don't know. I mean, other stupid kid shit, But I mean, I was a street rat, guy. I was a hurt individual. I was a fucked up kid. Like, that's what I'm saying. How the fuck? Like, and the only thing I can think is, I mean, blaming it on myself, to bring it back to myself, the only thing I can think is I was just so good at acting, to be able to survive and chameleon myself into my environment, to not be hurt. But even then I still just don't see how things, I mean that, I don't know. Um, yeah, so I think that's good.